Welcome to the Cauldron of Curiosities. Today we're talking about a collection of curiosities. I thought this was quite a good way of gathering ideas about things that I was curious about as it was leading up to spring. It is the equinox today. Spring is truly here. As I look outside the window, part of me wants to be outside with the sun shine on my skin. And yesterday I was outside enjoying the sunshine as I was pulling up grass in the lavender fields. I was surrounded by warm lavender and the honeybees were flying overhead. Yes, I was curious and I went over to the hive and I watched the honeybees coming in, and I could see the yellow in their pollen baskets, which I've been told is where they're collecting from the crocus. And I suspect they've been out collecting from dandelions too. So it will be interesting to see where this all comes forward in the spring as the honeybees start to become more busy as they go about collecting pollen and to create the nectar and honey that they feed the hive with. I will talk to you today about a range of different things that I was curious about things that I see when I'm out walking, things that I notice when I sat in my van. Like one example was I was looking at Bumblebee as he was sleeping, and I noticed he had quite a lot of similarities to a carving of a dragon I had. And I thought, do you think dogs are a derivative of these dragon styles? He's certainly got a very similar hairdo, and he's also got a cranial ridge that's very similar to the dragon head that I've got. And their colouring is quite similar. But Bumblebee's got hair and he doesn't have scales. But I did ponder on this. So this gives you some indication of how my mind was moving. And let's go down a rabbit hole with the Cauldron of Curiosities. Today I'm going to provide a collection of things that I am curious about. Now, the first thing that I was curious about was about finding metal embedded in a tree. I went for a walk with Bumblebee at the campsite that I was staying at, and there's a large beech tree on the edge, and something sort of called me to go over and have a look. And as I looked down, there were about 4 or 5 rings of iron deeply embedded into the bark of this beech tree. And this led me to think, was this doing any harm to the tree? Now, none of us really know what harm we're doing to trees because most of us don't have that ability to communicate with trees. But it can't have been that good for it, you would think. But what I did find out is there is a word for where the tree consumes an item, and it's called edaphoecotropism. And this means that the tree has engulfed or flowed around as it's grown around the object. So in this case it may have been a chain that the beech tree, as its layers grew around the chain links or these circles of iron, and they're now well embedded. Now, I had a look on the internet because Google is a good source for finding things at times, and it suggested that if you took away the bark, the item wouldn't be harmed. And there is a tale of a tree that has a bicycle within it, and it's known as a bicycle tree. So you might want to look that one up. But it reminds us of how trees adapt to live within our environment. But I did also wonder when I was looking at the tree this morning, why doesn't it throw out the object that's causing an issue? Or is it because it's the least resistance to grow around it and pretend it doesn't exist? That's something else to consider, isn't it? One night, Albert Einstein dreamt that he was walking through a farm where he found a herd of cows against an electric fence. When the farmer switched on the fence, the cows suddenly jumped back all at the same time. But to the farmer's eye, who was standing at the other end of the field, they seemed to jump one after another in a wave formation. Einstein woke up and the theory of relativity was born. This is according to the McGovern Institute at 25. Dreaming is one of the oldest biological phenomena. For as long as humans have slept, they've dreamt. But through most of our history, dreams have remained mystified, leaving scientists, philosophers and artists alike searching for meaning. In many Aboriginal cultures, such as East Asia community, in Peruvian Amazon, dreaming is a sacred practice for gaining knowledge or solving a problem through the dream narrative. But in the last century or so, technological advancements have allowed neuroscientists to take up dreams as a matter of scientific inquiry. Now, I'm reading this to you from the McGovern Institute's page because I wanted to know a little bit more, and I thought, well, best to go for some facts that you can go and look up. I'm looking at what's happening with the brain when we're sleeping and we're dreaming. What's going on? Well, there are the 5 brain waves: delta, theta, alpha, beta and gamma. During the transition to sleep, the number of beta waves lower significantly and the brain produces a high level of alpha waves, which would indicate that the alpha waves are related to relaxation. These waves, the brain waves that is, regulate attention and help filter out distraction. So this made me think, okay, do I actually understand what the different waves are? And I thought, probably not. So maybe I need to go down the rabbit hole of what the brain waves are doing. It does say alpha waves are produced when we daydream, meditate, or listen to something like the sound of rain. But then there's the frequency of those waves, which works in with music and sound waves. So gamma waves, which are at the top, are the fastest of brain activity, and they're responsible for cognitive functioning, learning, memory and information processing. A prominence of a gamma wave can relate to anxiety or high arousal or stress, and its suppression can lead to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, depression or even learning disabilities. But research suggests that in optimal conditions, gamma waves can help with attention, focus and the binding of the senses, smell, sight and hearing, consciousness, mental processing, and it helps with perception. Then beta waves are about high frequency, low amplitude brainwaves that are commonly observed in a waking state. That is what most of us experience on a daily basis. It's about our conscious thought and logical thinking, the thing that we don't do when we're dreaming, apparently. Because when we dream, they say that the dreams liberate our emotions and get rid of that logical thought. Having the right amount of beta brainwaves allows us to focus as well. The prominence of this wave also can cause anxiety and high arousal and an inability to relax and stress. So both of those in too much, too many gamma and too many beta, seems like it's not such a good thing. But there's, within the beta brainwaves, it tells me that there are 3 types of beta wave. We have a low beta wave, 12 to 15 hertz, known as beta 1, and mostly associated with a quiet, focused, introverted concentration. There's a mid-range, which is 15 to 20 hertz, known as beta 2, and is associated with increase in energy, anxiety, and performance. And then we have the high beta wave, which is 18 to 40, known as beta 3, associated with significant stress, anxiety, paranoia, high energy, and high arousal. Moving on to alpha brainwaves. Alpha waves have a frequency range between beta and theta. They help us calm down when necessary and promote feelings of deep relaxation. Alpha waves are found prominently in daydreaming. That means I have quite a lot of alpha waves because I do like to daydream, and inability to focus and being very relaxed. And if they're suppressed, this also can cause anxiety, high stress, and insomnia. But when they're optimal, it leads to a relaxed state. Then number 4 is theta waves. This particular frequency range is involved in both daydreaming and sleep. Again, if this wave is suppressed, it can cause anxiety and poor emotional awareness. I'm not quite sure how you suppress this particular wave, the theta wave, but stress is related if you do that. In its optimal state, theta waves help with creativity, emotional connection, intuition, and relaxation. And the theta waves have benefits of helping to improve our intuition and creativity and making us feel more natural. Theta is also involved in restorative sleep. Finally, the slowest recorded brainwave is the delta wave. They're found most often in infants and young children and are associated with the deepest levels of relaxation and restorative healing sleep. Delta is prominently seen in brain injuries, learning problems, and inability to think. If this wave is suppressed, it leads to the inability to rejuvenate the body and revitalise the brain, and ending up with poor sleep. Adequate production of delta waves helps us completely be rejuvenated and promotes the immune system, natural healing, and restorative sleep. So essentially, we need to allow delta brain waves to come in to help keep us healthy, don't we? But not many of us have got a machine that's going to be running along telling us that we have got the right brain waves working. Interesting, isn't it? So how do we know if we're getting the right brain waves? Something else to go down the rabbit hole about, I guess, I'm supposing, and I guess just sort of blurred in and got mixed up. What I can tell you right at this moment, that despite having a reasonable sized lunch, my brain is not working very well. So I will sign off and catch up with you at another point. The frequency of brainwaves. Delta is 0.5 to 4 hertz, and that is deep sleep. Theta is 4 to 8 hertz, and that's your drowsiness and deep relaxation. Alpha is 8 to 12 hertz. That is relaxed wakefulness. Beta is 13 to 30 hertz, alertness and active thinking. And gamma is 30 hertz and above, and that is high cognitive processing. So, question is, why can something like him pulling me stop my brain from working?
Right. We got two aspects of our thinking. We have our cognitive, in the moment, forward thinking, and we also have a more autonomous side. This is separate to subconsciousness, and when there's instances happening around us, our autonomous mode goes into that sort of quick, sort of immediate action kind of thing. You know, like being in the military, you were taught immediate action. So as soon as you hear gunfire, you do this and this and this. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
But it also does stop you from thinking about it until you are actually in a safe zone where your forward thinking and your cognitive aspect can come back online again. You literally go into a subroutine to do it, and that switches out anything else. It's part and parcel, really, of a self-preservation instinct. That's in it. The body is geared up to protect itself in every single way possible, namely to look after your brain. Your brain is a resource-hungry organ that takes dibs on everything first.
Yeah.
And everything about that, and any other situations, the brain wants to protect itself. And that includes thinking. It will shut down aspects of your thought to deal with that situation, because if you're not dealing with that situation, he can pull you over. He can pull you down the stairs.
Yeah.
So it's part and parcel of the self-preservation instinct that the brain stops you from thinking and doing something different, which could put you in jeopardy.
Thank you.